The last few Minecraft updates have left me feeling underwhelmed. Over the past few years, I would watch some of the coverage of the upcoming features and say to myself, oh yeah, that's cool. But in all but a few cases, that new info would just not stick with me, and by the time the update itself rolls around, I would forget what was even in it. It has gotten to the point that I could not tell you what was in any particular update between 1.18 and now. This is not helped by the fact that most of the updates since 1.17 have been the devs trying to catch up with their overambitious promises made in the Caves and Cliffs announcement. From my observation, this seems to be due to a lack of focus on Minecraft as an overall game experience and more focus on delivering new content. Minecraft is a sandbox, and diversity in block palette for its own sake isn't a bad thing, but when that's all an update adds to the experience, it can rub me the wrong way. Consider the Cherry Grove and Mangrove swamp biomes, as I don't feel they have enough to justify them being unique biomes. They just add a new tree type and maybe a few mobs, which is not a lot. I do appreciate these additions, but they should have been used to give a minor facelift to older biomes that are also just sort of there. Imagine if cherry trees were instead put into the underutilized flower forest biome, which right now just has oak for its tree. Shrinking down the sheer number of biomes, but giving those biomes more depth would go a long way in making the older biomes not stick out as much in the overall Minecraft experience. There are a bunch of older biomes that are just an oak forest with a slightly different color palette. Why are there a bunch of new biomes that basically just house a new tree? But lest I miss the forest for the trees, it's time to move on to another problem I've had. Synergy. In this case, by synergy, I mean the amount any item or block interacts with other parts of the game, or even itself. For example, let's look at a fairly uncelebrated update, 1.15's Buzzy Bees. The bees introduced in this update produce honey and wax, which both have many properties. Honey can be drunk from a bottle to increase your saturation or cure poison, or it can be crafted into honey blocks. These honey blocks can be slid down slower to cancel fall damage, or be used in piston contraptions, which I will not elaborate on further. Wax was a bit more useless at the time it was introduced, but now it can be used to create candles, halt copper oxidation, and be used to make beehives to hold more bees that you have bred. Speaking of which, the bees themselves also have many other interactions. A beehive can spawn when a tree is grown next to a flower, and those flowers can be used to breed bees. Bees can fertilize crops to make them grow faster, a mechanic I have never seen used outside of specific demonstrations, but is very cool. And all this was also in an update that was intentionally made to have less features so they could focus on fixing bugs. Now let's run a bit of a comparison with 1.19. Pulled randomly out of a hat. This update added the aforementioned mangrove wood, which mostly does things other wood does, though it is a very nice color, so this here is fine. The new mud block is very interactive. It can be made by combining a water bottle with some dirt, can be dried on dripstone, and can be crafted with wheat into packed mud, which has a variety of other crafting recipes related with it. Then there are frogs, which are bred with slime, and when they eat a magma cube, they create a frog-light. This is very bizarre, even if it is interesting, since these are two mobs that are very difficult to get into the same room. Magma cubes only spawn in the Nether, whose 5 biomes are all too hot to successfully breed frogs. So this is a synergy, but only like half a point for synergy. Then there are relays, which can interact with music from note blocks and jukeboxes, in addition to there being a later minor update that added the ability to duplicate relays with amethyst, so good job on the blue guys. Chest boats exist. Then there is the goat horn, which is very insulated to just the goat mob and does nothing outside of making noise, which is fun, but... Then, finally, is the Deep Dark, which aside from eating EXP, only interacts with mechanics between the Skulk Shrieker and Skulk Sensor. The Shrieker only interacts with the Sensor, though natural Shriekers can summon the Warden, which is a new and cool mob, so points there. Sensors are far more interesting, as they can be dodged with wool or sneaking, and encourage use of the new Swift Sneak enchantment thereon. The sensor also has redstone implications, which was expanded later by using amethyst to create calibrated skulk sensors. For 2 whole new biomes and a new structure in one of those biomes, that's not a lot of overall changes, only really skulk sensors, mud, and allays really qualify. If the point of Minecraft is to explore and gain new items, then encouraging that by connecting different mechanics to each other is a pretty good idea. It creates a gameplay loop where whenever you found a new material, you think to yourself, oh yeah, this skulk sensor is cool. Now if I can find some amethyst, I can make it even cooler. This encourages players to then seek out and experiment with these new mechanics and items, which then leads to others, and so on, in an inevitable loop of infinite exploration, at least until they've exhausted the entire Minecraft item pool, which is very large. In addition to this whole point about synergy, there has also been a trend for updates to be very unfocused. Updates would add like 2 unrelated biomes and or a new structure, without even like thematic connections. This mostly seems to have just been a remnant of caves and cliffs being way too big for its own good, however, and now that everything originally promised in 1.17 has been delivered, there seems to be a sense of focus returning to updates. The recent snapshots for the winter drop have been very promising. There is a single new biome with a new wood type and a mob and flower that interact with the day-night cycle, and a new resin material that can be made into bricks or used with armor trims, all very synergistic and focused things on just the new biome. And hopefully this resin doesn't require you to mess with a fletching table for hours to properly procure it. Now, I don't exactly know what the long-term solution here is to preventing this problem. It would require a general design shift in Mojang from what we can add to what is lacking, and that's not easy. Eventually, you'll just run out of things to meaningfully expand upon, and this is assuming Microsoft even lets them get away with a change like that. For now, though, things do seem to be headed in a good direction, so good on that, Mojang. Keep it up. That's all for today. Make sure you remember to click all the YouTube buttons down there. I had a pretty cool idea for a 100 subscriber special I really want to get to use. Also, I tried changing up the format on this video a bit, so let me know what you thought about it. Until next time, bye!